What have you done to the weather? What have you done to the weather? Jeez. See that thing in the far right-hand corner of your screen? That's my one-bar fire. That is my route to happiness. That is the one thing that heats this entire shop. And it does it well, to be honest, and relatively economically. Because I've obviously just opened up the horror room this year. We haven't had a winter with the horror room now. That used to be a sealed door. So now there's a bit more space to heat. But thankfully, it seems to be doing okay. Anyway, heating questions out of the way. My name is Dave Wain. Welcome to Snips Movies, one of the last remaining movie rental stores in the UK. Exciting times. Lots of people renting lots of movies. It's very, very good. Are you one? If you are, thank you very much, because it has been a good year, but how will this change in the weather affect it? It's interesting, I was saying to someone the other day, the lure of a warm sofa in a centrally heated house, if we can afford to put it on, and, a relatively adequate smattering of streaming services against venturing out into the blistering cold and rain. We shall see. We shall see how the winter progresses. Last winter was all right, to be honest, but I think this one might be challenging. But we shall see. We shall see. But yeah, it's been a busy week as always. I've been busy. I've been prepping for 2 new items that I'm doing for Arrow Video, which I'm really enjoying. I love robot-orientated films passionately, as you can tell. No, seriously, it's a good project, but in doing so, I have to prep for both a video essay and an audio commentary by watching every possible robot-themed B-movie that was made between 1986 and 1995. So I think I've got a dozen chalked up at the moment, but I need to double that at least by next weekend. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I've got a couple of new commentaries off 88 to do, which I'm really, really excited about. One is a forthcoming, not forthcoming, it's an Albert Pune film, so that'll be great to do our first Albert Pune commentary. I know Matty is a massive fan of Albert Pune, so that will be rather exciting. And another one is a slasher film, which has not seen the light of day in this country since VHS, so that is very, very exciting indeed. As a humorous aside, I got into a long conversation with Rich. If you're ever texting the CEO of 88 Films, do it around about 11:30 at night or midnight, because you get some really good gigs. What did they offer us? They offered us a film that could not be further away from our wheelhouse. If you don't watch the show regularly, my field of expertise is kind of the movies that no one hears about, the kind of also runs the orphaned children of B-movie filmmaking. That's my cup of tea, really. But he said, "Oh, Dave, everyone keeps passing on this film, and we've got no one to do the commentary." I said, "Well, you'll do it, won't you?" I said, "Well, what is it, Rich?" He said, "Oh, it's this." And I said, "Rich, that is as far removed from our wheelhouse than you could ever get. I mean, it's bordering on world cinema, and it is just nothing that we could possibly add any insight to in any capacity. We would be shocking." So unfortunately, I had to pass. But hey. But at least we're not money grab. At least we do make decisions about that. Oh, forgot to put the butter away. Anyway, let's have a look at what came out this week. It's been a bit of a frustrating one, to be honest. It's a time of year where stuff inevitably doesn't turn up on time, which is a bit annoying. What are we missing this week? Yeah. Radiance. Radiance. Having a tough time shipping out their Radical Japan box set by all accounts. I had it ordered with them. No sign at the moment. Last word was it should begin shipping from Friday. If you don't know, Radical Japan is, I think it's a 9-movie box set. One of the most expensive box sets I've bought in terms of world cinema. Contains some really interesting looking films. I think it's 7 Blu-rays, 9 films. It looks fantastic. I mean, Radiance is a badge of quality in everything they do, but like I say, it's just a bit frustrating that it isn't here, but still, it should hopefully be in for next week's episode. Also missing is John Wayne. That might be a good thing politically. John Wayne in Real Lobo, which is out this week from Eureka, part of their Masters of Cinema collection. No sign of that one at the moment. No shipping, which is a bit frustrating, but hey, these things happen. And also, one of the films here I have on Blu-ray, but no DVD, which is no major concern. So yeah, it is unfortunately the time of year where the sheer volume of stuff that's getting manufactured inevitably causes delays here and there. But hey, c'est la vie. So what do we got this week? We have The Ballad of Wallace Island. This has been on the radar for quite some time. A number of people have asked about it. I think predominantly because it didn't last that long in cinemas. And yeah, it sounds great, to be honest. It's about an eccentric lottery winner who lives alone on a remote island. And his dream is reuniting his 2 favorite musicians. However, his 2 favorite musicians are also former lovers, which kind of adds a spanner into the works. So it sounds like a really heartwarming British comedy drama. And yeah, that's a great little release, to be honest. Great little release. Next up is Nobody 2. Will it be as good as the first one? I don't know. Same writers, is it? Same director? I don't know. I do know that Bob Odenkirk is back in the lead role, which is the important thing. Connie Nielsen is in here as Christopher Lloyd, Colin Hanks, Sharon Stone, and RZA. I think that's how you pronounce his name. But yeah, that is Nobody 2 out this week. It's been a funny week, really. It's one of those weeks where nothing really qualifies for a double Blu-ray. It's pretty much just a one facing for all of these titles. But, you know, after last week, best to err on the side of caution. The Roses is out this week. This is the one we're missing the DVD from. It's the new film by Jay Roach, who, of course, did he do Austin Powers? Yeah, I think he did, didn't he? Isn't this a remake? Yeah, based upon the movie The War of the Roses. Yeah, so this is a remake of the old Danny DeVito, Kathleen Turner film. This time with Olivia Colman and Benedict Cumberbatch. So yeah, I don't know what you think of this. Does it need remaking? That was a great movie. Wasn't Michael Douglas was it? Wasn't it? It was a threesome from Romancing the Stone, wasn't it? Was it? Probably making that up. Another remake, and one I'm slightly cautious about. I've been looking at all the letterboxd reviews coming in, and yeah, you know, it's kind of fair to mediocre. Some people really do like it, though. It is the remake of The Toxic Avenger. Macon Blair is at the helm, who did both the screenplay and directed it. Lloyd Kaufman does produce, whether that's an active producer credit, I don't know. You got a good cast, though. You got Peter Dinklage, Jacob Tremblay, Elijah Wood, and Kevin Bacon. So I don't know. It did sit on the shelf for a very long time, didn't it? Wasn't it left in a warehouse for about 3 or 4 years? This one, I wanted to order on Blu-ray, but the Blu-ray showed no sign of being in stock. So went for the DVD as well. It looks like a good coming-of-age film. It's called Young Hearts. It's a Belgium/Netherlands production. Looks like a nice film, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah, Young Hearts, out this week from Peccadillo Picks. So that's the contemporary films. With the boutiques, as I say, a couple are missing. But what we do have Barry Lyndon, Stanley Kubrick's film on 4K UHD. It'll be an interesting watch on 4K UHD because, as you know, it was lit entirely by candlelight, wasn't it? So I'm just wondering if the 4K aspect might make it too, I don't know, too rich, because it has a very kind of smoky feel to it, doesn't it? In some aspects, in the interiors anyway. So yeah, we shall see. We shall see. Either way, great film. I just had a really, really good time. Been doing a bit of driving the last 7 days. I had a really, really good time listening to Brian Sauer and Elwick Kane's episode of Pure Cinema Podcast, where they did a 7-hour look at Stanley Kubrick's films. That sounds an endurance test, but it's not, believe me, especially if you're driving. And it was great, really, really interesting. What makes it interesting is they're not just looking at specific individual films of Kubrick's, they're actually pairing each film with another film that they might think might make a good double bill. So there's more to Kubrick than meets the eye. Next up, we have a bit of Wes Craven. My Swamp Thing commentary just got announced, and you can pre-order that from the 88 Films website if you want an exclusive 4K UHD slip, or you can pre-order that from today from Amazon, HMV, etc., for a February 2026 release. Good old Wes. But yeah, this is Deadly Friend, which came out a number of years after Something, 4 years. And to be honest, it's the one film I didn't watch in my prep for the Something commentary. My one film of Wes's that I didn't watch. So yeah, I must have a look at this. I think did I know this was coming out, so I didn't want to watch it. I forget. But anyway, I've got a Warner Archive DVD in the back, and this will be a good upgrade on that. So that's Deadly Friend from Arrow Video, Wes Craven's film. Then we have two from 88 Films. I do love the spines they're doing on these. We love spines, don't we? Who cares about the film? Let's just massage the spine. Yeah, we have They Made Me a Fugitive, which is a film by I forget. Oh, Alberto Cavalcanti. It's a violent film noir that looks at the dark underside of post-war Britain, starring Trevor Howard. It does sound fantastic, to be honest. It's filmed in 1947. There's a new commentary from Kim Newman and Barry Forshaw on there. Also have Time Without Pity in a similar ilk. Michael Redgrave stars in this. And Joseph Losey, the great Joseph Losey, directs. This one's from 1957 with an audio commentary by Troy Howarth. I did say to her, I said, look, with the other film, he's got Troy to do it. He'll do it. And they said, yeah, probably will. Troy's very good at doing pretty much any commentary you ask him to. Wicked Games is the one box set that came in on time from Radiance this week. It is 3 films by Robert Hossein, a filmmaker I wasn't that familiar with before this. This box set contains a prison break movie, a femme fatale movie, and a genre-defining Western. Robert Hossein, Rafifi, was both behind and in front of the camera, one of French cinema's great unsung stylists. 3 of his finest genre exploits are collected here. So yeah, this is a great little set. All the films are made between 1955 and 1961, and they're all about 90 minutes, which is a win-win situation in my eyes. Cool. So that is this week's new releases. What's been going out on loan this week? Sorry, I'm not trying to rush you, but I'm just thinking that we don't want to do another hour and 20-minute thing like we did last week, because that was torture for you, to be honest. Again, it's another great eclectic week. We've been doing this for 87 weeks now, is it? So I'd still try and pick out 8 films that I haven't mentioned before. There is one here, though, that I've mentioned several times. First up, Abel Ferrara. And it is from that period where Abel Ferrara couldn't get arrested. Well, maybe probably could, actually. Yeah, I forget what year this film was. It's 444, Last Day on Earth. I quite like it, in all honesty. Kind of post-apocalyptic, almost like a play in some respects. But I think it's great. Willem Dafoe is fantastic as always. Um, and yeah, I think it's a pretty decent film. I always say to people how Abel Ferrara just had a bad deal here in the wake of I think it was the Blackout, maybe the film after that. But yeah, everything from 1996 just got sneered at up until probably the Gerard Depardieu film, which is weird because such a great director. Some really cool stuff in that. I mean, New Rose Hotel goes out regularly, but that's a German import. Our Christmas, I would love to have an UK friendly edition. Does anyone know if there's an UK friendly edition of Our Christmas anywhere? Because I'd love to have that film. Same with Mary. I'd love to have a UK friendly version of Mary. Oh, I might have that, to be honest. I may have a French edition of that. I'll just have to double check. But yeah, there's a number of films that came out around the Millennium era that just never saw the light of day over here, which is crazy. And even this one is released by one of the most awful labels ever to have walked the face of the earth. A company called Moviola. Never answered an email in their life. Always insisted on printing the spine title the wrong way around. Minor thing. But I remember they released, I mean, look at that, Mauve, Truth. Who puts that on a box? I remember they released one of the greatest documentaries ever made, which is a film called Dear Zachary, which will break your heart. And they released it. I was dead excited because I'd heard about the documentary and I'd seen it through other means. And I got the DVD and the DVD wouldn't play. Or another one wouldn't play. And they buggered up the mastering of the DVD. Didn't reply to emails, didn't sort out the issue, and it was just a film that was here and then it wasn't, unfortunately. I watched this the other week, which I really liked it. You can't beat watching a great little hour and 15-minute movie first thing in the morning. That really does float my boat, to be honest. This is VII. It's a Russian folk film, and I really liked it. I thought it was a great story. It was haunting. It was unsettling. Some brilliant imagery. It's from 1967. And yeah, just great to see it going out, to be honest. It hasn't been, it was a late arrival to the Masters of Cinema collection. I only picked it up quite recently, but it is very good indeed. I mentioned Pure Cinema Podcast before. You may have heard their episode before last where they had Edgar Wright on the show and they all picked their favorite Stephen King movies. Great to see this going out on loan. It's directed by Craig R. Baxley, who did a number of Stephen King adaptations, including Storm of the Century. And this isn't a bad little thing, to be honest. I quite like this. I've only seen it once, I think, so it will be ripe for a rewatch. But yeah, just a great Stephen King film. Was it based on a book or was it original screenplay? I can't remember. Either way, good cast. You got Julian Sands, Kevin Tighe, Nancy Travis. Yeah, just a solid ensemble of people, to be honest. And it is quite an unsettling little movie. So it's Rose Red from Stephen King. One of my customers this week was trying to see every Edgar Wright film before they saw The Running Man, and they had to see one more aside from the obvious one that hasn't been released. So they saw the Sparks Brothers, which is great. I don't know if you like the Sparks as well, but they're just brilliant. They are absolutely fantastic to truly fascinating individuals. And yeah, this is a really good portrayal of them, to be honest. So the Sparks Brothers, always good to see a good documentary going out on loan. Up next, Glengarry Glen Ross. I was really considering. I love my director's sections, obviously, and David Mamet has directed some amazing films. And I was going to put a David Mamet director's section in place. You know, all the cool stuff like Red Belt and State and Main and Heist and Spanish Prisoner. But I thought, but even with all his great directorial films, I can't include possibly the best film he wrote, which was Glengarry Glen Ross, because James Foley wrote it. So a bit awkward. How can you have a, you know, David Mamet section without Glengarry Glen Ross? Unless I do a written by section. Possibly. Boring one for you, but just to let you know that the most rented film of 2025 is still renting out like hotcakes. I saw the TV Glow out on loan again. Had a customer at the weekend drive an hour to rent Brian Yuzna's Rottweiler. In 2025, people are driving an hour to rent Brian Yuzna's Rottweiler, which is just amazing. Is it his best film? No. But it is interesting. It is an interesting piece of work. Yeah, there's a few little flaws in this, but anything Brian Yuzna does is pretty much well worth checking out. The reason he rented it, though, was because he saw the new Brian Yuzna section in the horror section, and that inspired him to rent two Yuznas. He rented Rottweiler and also Amphibious as well. So, yeah. And finally, out this week as well, it is the Tall Tea. I do love a Bud Boddicker Western. I think Mark took this, didn't he? And I think I do believe he gave it 5 stars on Letterboxd, and it's worth it as well. It's based on a story by Elmore Leonard. Randolph Scott, of course, stars in this. And it's great. Honestly, that Bud Boddicker set that Indicator put out a number of years back, it's not been the most popular sets, but people who discover it are really grateful that they have. So that's awesome. Right, we got a lot of what's in the box to go through. So as I said, I want to try and keep this down to 45 minutes to save all your time. So we got 2 sections on what's in the box. We have, it's been a week for donations. We're going to go through those. And there's been some interesting deliveries as well. So I think first we'll go through the donations, but I'm going to mention this first. Yes, but great for donations. As you may well know if you watch us regularly, people tend to wander in with stuff, which is great. It is truly great. But most of the time it is absolute rubbish. It's Mrs. Brown's boys. But like I always say to people, the cases come in handy. The cases really come in handy. So many of my spines tend to flake off after a period of time. So I swap over about 500 DVD Amarais per year that disintegrate. So yeah, the cases always come in handy, irrespective of the films. But sometimes when people send a donation in, there's some good films to pick out that I haven't got. But the cases, though, are really handy. For example, I got a really awful donation of stuff that is relatively unexciting, but it had loads of TV series in. So the good thing about TV series was you can get 4 cases, single Amarais that will contain 4 discs and single Amarais that will contain 6 discs. What use will that have for me, you might ask? Well, I will show you. The Marine. Yes, because how else, dear people, how else would you be able to hold all 5 Marine sequels in the one case? Because there we go. Marine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Marine 6 at the bottom there. So there's all 6 Marine movies in one tidy case all together. Previously, before yesterday, they were all stuffed in master bags into one single Amarais case. But now they all have their own home. And that is beautiful. That is beautiful. Now, you may be thinking, why on earth, when you have some of the greatest films available to humanity, would you keep all 6 Marine movies? And I can't answer that question. All I know is they bring me a degree of comfort. And that's it, really. They just bring me a degree of comfort. Will I ever watch the Marine franchise again in its entirety? I don't think so. But I can sleep at night knowing they're here. Likewise, the Sniper films. I have the first 8 Sniper movies. 9 and 10 I'm just about to pick up on DVD. and it's only number 11, Sniper 11, that is yet to come to DVD. But hey, who knows? Hopefully soon. Do the Sniper movies sequels ever rent out? Not particularly. I think Fallon rented one Sniper movie for Tom Berenger, and I don't think he liked it that much. But hey ho, gone was the opportunity to venture into these sequels. But yeah, it's been a good week of donations. We have a single donate. Well, this was in amongst a load of donations that weren't much comp, but it is the two Jakes. Bafflingly, I did not have this film, which is just nutty. I don't know why. Jack Nicholson directs, Robert Evans produces. It's the sequel to Chinatown. The music is by Van Dyke Parks. The cast includes Eli Wallach, Frederick Forrest, David Keith, Richard Farnsworth, Harvey Keitel, and Van Dyke Parks as well pops up. So yeah, it's not the greatest sequel, especially when you compare it to the original. But I should have this film. Weird case though. Weird case. It's Region 2, but it has no certification on it anywhere, and the synopsis is in English. Weird. Anyway, that is the two Jakes. Glad to get this. That's then Dylan, our man Dylan, the king director of Framing New Brighton, who's actually going to do something over here in the new year, which is a really, really interesting project. But I'll tell you more about that in January. Dylan walks in with a load of stuff that he said, I think you might like these. And because he's a studious chap, he's checked every one of them out on our database. This looks crazy. It's called Gaswork. It is the films of Jeff Keane. Jeff Keane sounds like a wild filmmaker, very much underground. But this is 40 or so of his short films that were made between 1960 and 2002. It was released by the BFI. A remarkable group of films. And that is now in the Snips library, courtesy of Dylan, which is incredibly generous. Brilliant. Also from our man Dylan, he gave us Upgrade of Air Doll, which is cool because Kurita Hirokazu's films are incredibly popular at the moment. I even set up a specific director section for him, which has all the usual stuff. Monsters, Shoplifters, I Wish, After the Storm, Broker, Like Father, Like Son, Afterlife. Great director, and this is one of his best. It's Air Doll. Nice to have that in on a shiny Blu-ray. We have two films in here from the brilliant Thai director who made Uncle Boon Me. I can't pronounce his name because I'm special. But we have both of these films have been asked for a number of times. Tropical Malady from 2004 and Blissfully Yours from 2002. So that's a really great addition to the store. Can't wait to get those on the shelf. They will rent very much indeed. This was one he considered fairly crap. But, however, this is a British film made around the Millennium era called The Last Yellow. It stars Mark Addy, Charlie Creed Miles, and Samantha Morton. So it will go perfectly in my Millennium era British films, British box office bombs that fell either side of the millennium, whatever it's called. That section above the door, or just above the door. So it's The Last Yellow, a curious British film that never really got anywhere. That's that. The Unloved, another Samantha Morton film, which sounds fantastic. She directed it herself. I'm not familiar with this at all. Michael Winterbottom produced it. Yeah, it's Morton's directorial debut. It's an intimate portrayal of a child's eye view of the care system in the UK. Sounds pretty heavy. I think that's Robert Carlyle in there as well. Yeah. And yeah, I never saw this anyway. I'd never seen that. I'd never seen that cover in any way. I've never known about this film. I never realized it got released. So that is a true brilliant donation that will no doubt be really, really popular. So that is The Unloved. 2 films from Djibril Diop Mambéty, both from Senegal. So that's the first 2 films from Senegal that I've ever had in the store, which is pretty exciting indeed. So thank you, Dylan, for that. Yeah, both about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, both made during the 90s. But again, it just adds to the fabric and adds to the diversity, which is great. And then finally, if you will have seen, if you go back a few weeks on 5 films to the episode where we had Dylan and Dan Draper in the hot seat doing a double header of 5 films, then yeah, you'll know who Dan Draper is. And Dan Draper is a brilliant director. Dylan dropped off 3 of his documentaries because Dan, I think, didn't feel comfortable in bringing them in himself and saying, "Here, stick those on your shelf." I can see that, but I'm honored, absolutely honored to have these all on my shelf because I've seen all 3 in the last few days, and they are brilliant. I've rated each of them 4.5 stars on Letterboxd. 3 of the best documentaries I've seen in a long time. The first one is called Almost Liverpool 8. It's based on a photograph that the photographer Don McCullen took of Toxteth, i.e. Liverpool 8, back in the early 70s. And what Dan wanted to do is take that photograph, try and find the area it was, and look at the postcode today and see how it's evolved over those 50 years. And it's just, we live in an era of these knuckle dragging flag shaggers who like to demonize any person of color. And it's an area like Liverpool 8 that you think is the perfect example of what the joy that multiculturalism can bring to a country. Just brilliant, just absolutely brilliant. Some fascinating people from all walks of life, from all backgrounds, all countries. And yeah, it's absolutely joyous film, which I thoroughly recommend. That is Almost Liverpool 8. Manifesto looks at the troops on the ground, the boots on the ground, who campaigned for Labour just prior to the 2019 election. A bit of PTSD for me. That's a long story. But more importantly, if you take the whole thing, if you take the personality politics out of it and sort of the trauma that we're living through at the moment, it's a really interesting portrayal of people, the people that don't get the publicity, that sit behind these MPs or sit in the MPs' offices, and you never really know them, the canvassers, the campaigners, and the people who walk and knock on doors. So it was very, very, very interesting indeed. That was Manifesto. And finally, again, politically related, it is The Nature of the Beast. It's a stunning documentary from 2017 that looks at the career and the life of Dennis Skinner, arguably one of the most authentic politicians that we've ever had in this country. We're living in an era where politicians, there's 650 of the bastards in Westminster, and you might get a handful that are actually there for the right reasons. And he was one of them. He was one of them. And it is a brilliant documentary about him and his principles. His principles, honestly, unbelievable, unbelievable. So that is the donations section this week. That's cold. With the other arrivals, I have a threesome here from Francis Ford Coppola. Obviously, I've moved the Francis Ford Coppola section so it can now be viewed because it was tucked in a corner. And I thought, well, let's add some deep dive Coppola films. So I have Twixt with Val Kilmer. I have Tetro with Vincent Gallo. And I have Youth Without Youth with Bruno Ganz. I have not seen either of them. I know they've all received a degree of criticism. But yeah, tell me what you think about these couple of films and whether they're worth a look. I just wanted to be a completist, you know. I just like that. I just like that. I think it's important when you look at a director's work that you should look at the bad, the good, and the mediocre. So that is, they're all destined for the Coppola section, which is cool. Um, I think you can tell what this one is. I had a couple of films come in from Germany. A big fan of Charlie Steeds. I think he's a really interesting British filmmaker of low-budget horror. This was an early film of his called The Barge People, retitled in Germany to Mutant River. So pretty pleased about that one. Then we have two upgrades to the Brian Usner section, in Usner again. These were released on the Vestron range in America, but sadly in this country they didn't get reissued. It is The Dentist 1 and The Dentist 2 with Corbin Bernsen, both brilliant pieces of work, especially the first one. It's got a script by Dennis Powley, who you might know. They're produced by Pierre David, and of course Corbin Bernsen is just an absolute master in these. He is brilliant as a dentist. And The Dentist 2, both now upgraded to Blu-ray. Documentary that I know when Neil was here on Saturday, we were talking about New York themed documentaries because Neil rented Blank City, which is a spectacular documentary. And it's another good documentary, not pertaining to film per se, but this is about. It's called 80 Blocks from Tiffany's. It's just about gang culture in New York and the tail end of the 70s. It was made by Gary Weiss, who was involved with the whole Saturday Night Live movement from 1975. It was made for NBC, or one of the networks. It never got shown. However, its reputation grew, and yeah, I got this DVD, which apparently is now worth an absolute fortune. But I managed to pick it up for a relatively low price. But it's a great piece of work, fascinating. But like I say, not film related, just gang related, with no Jim Belushi. And finally, finally in this lot, we have Saga Emmanuelle, Saga Erotica, the Emmanuelle collection. Great piece of work. As always, Severin just know how to do these things. Absolutely remarkable. What we have here is we have a gorgeous book of Emmanuelle history, and we have 4 films. We have obviously, wrong one. Obviously, Emmanuelle, the original, with Sylvia Crystal, from 1974. We have Emmanuelle 2. Again, I think with Sylvia Crystal. Am I going to get censored for showing these? From 1975. Then we have Goodbye, Emmanuelle, with Sylvia Crystal doing her last role. We got score by Serge Gainsbourg. Main title theme performed by Gainsbourg and Jane Birkin. I mean, some of this is such immense quality. Scanned in 4K from the OCN by Studio Canal, 2 hours of special features. Each of these comes on a region-free UHD, or we have a region A locked Blu-ray. So if you've got a UHD player, then you can see the films by all means. But if you want to access the extras, you will need a multi-region Blu-ray player. 4th film, though, is the real curiosity. It's called I, Emmanuelle. It predates the first Emmanuelle. It's from 1969. This is the North American disc premiere, and it is classed as the first ever Emmanuelle movie. Virtually unknown and rarely seen. Inspired by the same memoir. And yeah, it sounds really, really intriguing. It's directed by Cesare Canavari, who directed one of everyone's favorites, The Gestapo's Last Orgy. Yes, I do have that one. So yeah, really unusual one, that. So there's I, Emmanuelle from 1969. But it's a great set. Some great restoration there from Severin. And yeah, just great to see these films being given the attention they deserve. Finally, this week, oh God, thank goodness for that. Oh, 39 minutes. That's not bad. We're doing all right. we have some BFI. Yeah, the BFI, again, thanks to Dylan for pointing this out. The BFI I've got a sale on at the moment. 2 for £15, which is giving these films away. It really is. So I had to pick up a load of BFI movies this week that I hadn't got. So we have some traumatic animation. This was another conversation we had on Saturday morning. When the Wind Blows is a nuclear-themed, nuclear disaster, nuclear war-themed animation, which looks truly terrifying. Voiced by John Mills and Peggy Ashcroft. Watership Down, which you all know, is truly, truly haunting. Then we also have a film by Christopher Petit, Radio 1, which I've heard its reputation for a number of years now. It's kind of a road movie based in the UK, a soundtrack that features David Bowie, Kraftwerk, Lena Lovitch, Ian Jury, Reckless Eric, Robert Fripp, Devo, and an early screen performance by Sting. So wow, that is a pretty impressive piece of work. It's Radio On from the BFI. Had this one on DVD, but good to upgrade it. Peter Medak has been having a well-earned career reappraisal recently, and this was his film that starred Gary Oldman and Lena Olin, Annabella Sciorra and Juliette Lewis. Romeo is Bleeding. Burning an Illusion is a recommendation from Dylan, who said it is one of the greatest films he's ever seen. It's a film made in 1981, a pioneering first feature, marking a coming of age for Black British cinema. A film about transformation and identity. It sounds absolutely brilliant. All set against the backdrop of Thatcher's London. This is a very, very political show, isn't it? Red Desert is a film I didn't have by Michelangelo Antonioni. This one is from 1964. It won the Golden Lion at the Venice Film Festival, and by all accounts sounds pretty spectacular. Then we have The Crying Game, Neil Jordan's film, which again I had on DVD but couldn't resist the upgrade to Blu-ray. Stephen Ray, really been better. Likewise, Forrest Whitaker. Chocolat is a new film by Claire Denis. An old film by Claire Denis. It's 1994. No, 1988 it is. Semi-autobiographical exploration of the colonial power struggle in Cameroon. Claire Denis, good filmmaker. And finally, we have Gallivant, a film directed by Andrew Cutting. Mark Commode says, when it comes to immersive cinema, few filmmakers can hold a candle to British maverick Andrew Cutting. Sounds great. Again, it's a kind of road movie, a 6,000-mile trip around Britain's coastline, made in 1996, where he took his 85-year-old grandmother and his 7-year-old daughter. Amazing. Sounds great. That's the BFI. Just remember, I got 2 little lots of stuff to show you. Weirdly, I got a bizarre donation of screeners, which is just weird. I mean, like I say to people, I'll drop anything off for the cases, but these are all on mainly cardboard sleeves. But they're all BAFTA screeners, obviously well watched, still sealed. BAFTA screeners for 2015, 2016. Seems such a bizarre thing to drop off at a movie rental store. Obviously, I can't rent them. I can't use the boxes. I can't do anything with them. Paddington, Beasts of No Nation. He named me Malala, unsealed. Money well spent by BAFTA. St. Vincent, still sealed. Money well spent by BAFTA. But yeah, so a load of BAFTA screeners, which is really, really weird. But there, I'll stick those in the corner and have a think about that one. And then finally, we have a gift from Mr. Dean Everest. As you know, Dean won the competition a few weeks back. And he was very, very kind. He said, look, I've got a load of Blu-rays here that I'm just going to get rid of, going to donate them to a charity shop. Do you want any before I do? They sent me a list, and I said, well, to be honest, Dean, I've got all of these, but almost all of these on DVD. But I'd love to upgrade them to Blu-ray. So, lovely letter. Thanks for your continued insight into the video store. It's amazing to watch your business thrive and to see young people getting into films so enthusiastically. Thank you, Dean. That means a great deal. But there's good stuff in here. I won't go through every one. But stuff like Highlander, again, gets a timely upgrade to Blu-ray at Snips Movies. Likewise does Top Gun, Ghostbusters. Some classics that I should really have on Blu-ray. Grand Budapest Hotel, Scrooged, Rear Window, Cloverfield. Two of those really, really, really stand out to me. One is this, which is an anime. Another one from my anime section, which Dean says is great. It's called The Garden of Words, a film by Makoto Shinkai. So yeah, that will go in very, very nicely into my growing section of anime. And while we're talking about anime, arguably one of the most unbelievable donations of all, we have a sealed copy, steelbook, Akira. I was after this a few weeks back, and I said no because the price put me off it. It was a crazy money, and I said no, I'm just going to have to wait on that one. But yeah, this is dual format, Blu-ray and DVD, 32-page booklet. Akira finally didn't have this film in any capacity, outrageous though it is, and now I have it on Blu-ray, all thanks to Dean Everest, which is absolutely marvelous. I can't wait to get that in that section. And look at the packaging, can I just say. Boutique Blu-ray companies take note. That is how to package physical media. Wonderful. Okie dokie. Nearly done, thankfully for you. Let's just have a quick look at these comments from last week. What do we got? Thanks for watching last week's episode, by the way. I don't know why it was so popular, but loads of people seem to have been watching it. Let's have a look. Who we got? Yeah, I read this the other day. This morning, I think it was. Lee Mann says that it feels like such a heathen whenever the Criterion Collection is mentioned. I have a grand total of 3 of their releases. I just find that other boutiques have titles that I'd much rather buy. I'm with you, Lee, to be honest. I don't blame you in any capacity. One of the funny things, when we were a bit slower, when business wasn't quite as good as it is now, Criterion would always come down the pecking order. I would always get Arrow first, 88 first, Eureka first. Then, if there's anything left in the budget, I would get Criterion. So, it's a great collection, but weirdly, it was never my priority until now, which I think it deserves because they are doing amazing stuff. Tom Jolliffe asks, "Does Mimic 2 mimic?" Good question, Tom. I shall weigh that up. Brick Builds says, "Finally got round to watching I Saw the TV Glow, as it's been mentioned on here at least 5 times. Make that 6. My first 10 out of 10 thing I've watched all year. Incredible." Well, that's great to hear. I'm so pleased about that. I know plenty of customers really despised it. Lee, sorry. But yeah, it's been a true Marmite film. And it's great to hear that you liked it. Paul Gregg says, "Interesting to hear about Terence Davis. I've been thinking I could do with recommendations on Liverpool films set in and made in. As a Beatles fan, I always love Backbeat." That's a good film I don't have. Backbeat. And yeah, you hate the poor geography of the car chase in 51st State. Yeah, Samuel Jackson. Bizarrely, I've never seen Ferry Cross the Mersey, which had the first screen appearance of Elizabeth Sladen, Doctor Who companion. Well, there you go. Learn something every day. Chris Ward says, "Glad to see Gods and Monsters getting some love. A wonderful film." Yes, it is, Chris. It's fantastic. It's brilliant. Chris also said, I asked the question last week about what format people prefer, just instinctively. And Chris said his favorite format is Blu-ray. He likes DVD, but it won't look great on his current TV. 4K is great, but still too expensive. But Blu-ray is a great all-rounder. Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. Roxy, Dave, I was telling you last week about a separate film that was being made by artist Peter Beard with Wall. Yeah, Grey Gardens went out, and I had a vision that there was another documentary, but in fact, it was a conversation I had with Roxy about a separate film being made by Peter Beard with Warhol before Grey Gardens, but it was never released. You can get it was released. You can get a copy on DVD called That Summer. I think it came out in 2018, so it might be one to track down. Good Lord. I think it was my corporate coffee that drove me nuts, but then again, I think most things drive me nuts most days. James says, I'm with you, Dave. Blu-ray is the sweet spot for me. Interesting. On a side note, I've also recently discovered something quite interesting. It seems there are some versions of films. Oh, James came in yesterday and brought his Lord of the Rings edition. He's saying there's some version of film on DVD that have full screen editions, mainly from the early 2000s, when the last days of CRT TVs were knocking around. Notably, The Fellowship of the Ring and some Harry Potter films offer a much different experience as they show more of the image which is omitted from the theatrical release. It's true, I forgot about those two editions that used to come out on DVD, full screen and widescreen. You have to choose between either. Completely evaporated from my mind, but seeing it yesterday face to face was quite interesting to see that full screen banner across the top. Film Wolf says Dave Leadbelly, the biopic of legendary bluesman, is directed by Gordon Parks and is well worth it. Imprint recently put it out. That's great to know. It's a good label. They also just had a sale. I didn't partake in that, Film Wolf, because every time I logged onto the site, it said I was 200th in the queue. And then when I got to the front of the queue, the site moved with about as much pace as me running a marathon. So yeah, I recently took advantage of the Mondo Macabre Halloween sale. Nice. Yeah, I'm going to wait for the Mondo Macabre stuff to get into my little place that I love, Strange Vice, who are great for imports. So for Mondo Macabre stuff, I'm happy to wait. It's not the most active section in the store. So yeah. Big Al says, fantastic episode for a light week. Releases for light week releases, this episode was packed with gems. I grew up with VHS, but I got more into film with the DVD format, and still grab titles today. Blu-ray 4K are stunning, no doubt, but I feel DVD had more character with Easter eggs and active menus. There we go. You see, different strokes for different folks. I do love a DVD though, just so durable. Just so cheap and so durable and cheap to manufacture. Zephyr says, Grizzly Man is an amazing Herzog film that's not in that box set. You're right. It's in a separate box set called Encounters in the Wild or something like that. The Richard Thompson soundtrack is just beautiful. Recommend if you've not seen it. I have seen Grizzly Man, and weirdly, that movie rented out about 3 hours before you posted that comment, which was just crazy. Andrew says, great episode as always. Did anyone else have their heart in their mouth when they saw the contents of the coffee cup spill onto the electronics? I spat my own tea out as I frantically pointed and screamed at the TV. I didn't hear you, Andrew. Didn't hear you. Scream louder next time, for God's sake. No, it was fine. It didn't look as bad, and it wasn't just an easy mop up. I am a spillage induced person, to be honest. I do spill cups of coffee and tea. Most places, not tea, coffee. Yeah, but yeah. Nearly there. Jake says the WNUF Halloween special is fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, Jake. Not really a film, but in a traditional sense, no. But yeah, there's something about it, something really warming about it. It was good fun. It was good fun. And finally, Graham Reed says, quotes me. He says, F1, will it be better than Driven? Even as a Rennie Harlin apologist, there are not many films worse than Driven. Oh, don't be so harsh, Graham. Don't be so harsh. But he does say also that the Naked Gun reboot is surprisingly good. So that's good news. And to be honest, most of the people bringing it back over the last few days have really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, it's been going down a storm. Well, all this week's releases have been, to be honest. Naked Gun is renting well. F1 is renting well. And also The Life of Chuck is renting really well as well. So they're the 3 strong films. Right, I will crack on. I will get back to my robotics. And what am I watching tonight? I'm watching The Vindicator. from, I think, 86, 87, was it? Then I'm watching... I forget. But yeah, more robot. Oh yeah, best see some... I've best seen Nemesis, haven't I, really? Yeah. But yeah, any suggestions, let me know. And you can contribute to your very own Arrow video commentary. I'll give you a shout out. They'll love that. Right, that's enough from me. You've heard more than enough. And I will leave you in peace. And I will go home for the first time since early o'clock this morning. It's 7 p.m., don't you know? 7 p.m. I'm not eaten since breakfast. Outrageous. Thank you very much for watching. I don't know how and why you do it, but you're lovely people. And I appreciate it a great deal. So yeah, I will be off. And again, I'll see you next week for the boutique week of the year. Boutique week of the month. So yeah, good stuff coming in next week. And hopefully that Radical Japan box set from this week. We shall see. I'll see you in 7 days' time.